much for coming here tonight. I appreciate you. Despite the federal government shutdown, I think that it's very important that we still honor and salute our flag, because this is nevertheless the greatest nation in the world. So if we could just please stand up and do a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. In addition, this session will also be live streamed on Facebook. When I was elected several years ago, we made a point of recording this and putting it on YouTube so that you can do this application from the pleasure of your own home. I want to thank my staff, Marianne and Dan, who you registered with. It's important that you provide your email, because we have a lot of great events, and we're not going to bombard you every day with emails, at least once a week. But it's a lot of important information. And the new system that the county executive is working on is a system that has kinks, is not perfect, and we demand better, and you deserve better. And I anticipate changes as the year goes forward. And if you think about it with the new system, as if you have a new car, the first year will tell you whether or not the car is reliable or if it works. And yeah, I got worried. Thank you very much, everybody, for your comment. Thank you. I apologize. I'll be short because I want to get straight to the presentation. I know that you have children at home and other important obligations. There is a new system that the county executive has initiated regarding our tax assessment, at the legislature we held a hearing, and there were many concerns, many questions. I felt very sympathetic for the seniors, for example, who lived at a fixed income, who now they have a tax bill that's at least $5,000 higher, and in the first place they don't even have children in the school district. We need to do better, and I'm glad, at least with new leadership in the state government, I myself will be asking for a bailout. We need a change. The county executive, in essence, inherited this mess. For 8 years or more, our tax our code was inaccurate. It was just built on a house of cards, if you want to say. And she did the responsible thing by at least addressing it, but we need to fix the system and make it fair and equitable so that everyone is paying their fair share. In March of last year, I wrote an article in the Herald and the Newsday, which I described how the system creates a disadvantage for communities like Elmont, where the average home could be $400,000 in market value, but they're paying more than their fair share. They're paying $13,000, $14,000 compared to a $1 million home on the North Shore that's only paying $30,000. And believe it or not, there is a major lawsuit that will happen very soon, in fact, by residents in the village of Hempstead, in which they're using that basis to challenge the entire system. So the system is fluid, it is changing, and the purpose is to make a fully defensible role. We'll see this fall, once these assessments, once the grievances are in, and how the county responds to the grievances. But I want to create some misinformation out there. You could still grieve your taxes, and you can still do it this year and next year and the year after. And the phased-in system means it's phased in. It's not, what they anticipate 5 years from now is not what you're paying now. It's a phased-in system. There was a lot of misinformation, and so I'm very glad and very fortunate to have Jeff Gold here. Let's give a round of applause to Jeff Gold. He's not just here, but he brought his family and his team, and they're here, live streaming this. We're educating those who couldn't be here tonight as to how to properly grieve your assessment. And in essence, it's simple, but if you're not used to doing it, I can understand why it's difficult. Please know that my office is here to answer questions. My office number is 516-571-6203. One of my staffers used to work in the assessment department before working in my office, and so he's very skilled at answering these questions. And in addition, my cell phone number is 516-807-0910. Many people have been calling my office, and we put them in touch with the assessment department, with the county executive's office, in trying to address a lot of inequities. I see a lot of these that just don't make sense. A small house paying more taxes than a big house right next door to it, a mini McMansion. And so we have to just create equity in this system. So thank you very much for being here tonight. Without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Jeff Gold, and he is very excited. He loves to do this workshop here in Elmont, because it's these communities that often don't get a chance to grieve their taxes, and we're just trying to bring government to you. So without further ado, Mr. Jeff Gold.
All right. Did you have to keep that on? Yeah. We'll go with this one. Okay. I'm Jeff Gold, and I have a Facebook page, Nassau Grieve Tax Assessment Free. How many of you are members? Okay, who's not a member? It's easier. If you got a chance, join the Facebook group, okay? It'll walk you through it. We answer all your questions in the group. Who's a member who likes being a member? We help you, okay? It's not just me. I've got at least a half dozen people who understand this, who now are working really hard to make sure all our residents get this. We have 20,000 active members. Last month, more than 20,000 people checked out the group. I keep the group open, so even if you're not a member, you can still find the facts, and you can find the case, the files, and you can still get your questions answered. We'd grow our membership if we closed it. I just don't think we should. In any event, if you have a laptop, you have a Facebook tablet, you have a smartphone, if you follow my instructions, by the end of the night, you'll have filed grievance for your taxes. Now, I'm an attorney. That doesn't mean I know anything about grieving taxes. There are lots of attorneys out there who know, a number of them on the legislature, by the way, who know nothing, not you, who know nothing about grieving taxes. They know nothing about assessment or reassessment. However, I was a member of the Board of Assessors in 2002 when we did a prior, I'm trying to figure out where it's best. We did a prior reassessment, and I've got a pretty good idea of what goes into determining the values of a home and how assessment works. Then I was a member of the Assessment Review Commission, which, I'm going to put this down, because I think you can hear me, I'll talk louder. I was a member of the Assessment Review Commission, and what the Assessment Review Commission does is it is the organization that actually lowers your taxes, your tax assessment, when you file a grievance. Okay? They're two separate parts of county government. At one time, there was an elected assessor, and the elected assessor would determine your values, and then the Assessment Review Commission, which was under the control of the county executive, would determine whether it was fair or not and whether you were entitled to a reduction. We ended up getting rid of the elected assessor so that both the Department of Assessment and the Assessment Review Commission were under the control of the same county executive. And that ended up being a real problem because that county executive froze the rolls with the Department of Assessment, meaning he stopped assessing value of property in about 2009. So if your house was worth $400,000 in 2009, he stopped raising it each year as values went up. And then what he did is he fired all the people that worked for the Assessment Review Commission. And I don't mean all the people, he left 5 people. When I was with the Assessment Review Commission, there were 55 appraisers, and then there were 5. I think right now there were 3, and they just hired 10 more to try to get back up to a level where people can actually look at your assessment and determine if it's fair. So what happened is by firing, and if you can't hear me, you can try and move up, or just tell me, wave, and I'll know you need me to speak louder. So what happened is after firing all but 5 of the assessment review appraisers, well, now you got 100,000 grievances coming in every year or more, coming in from these grievance firms, and some people are doing it on their own, but it's still mostly done by these grievance firms. We're just going to call them donors. And these donors are filing 200,000 grievances a year up to, and it's overwhelming the system. And you got 5 people trying to figure out who's entitled to a reduction. So you know what they did? They gave everybody a reduction. Last year, 180,000 people got reduction. Well, you say, okay, well that's great if I got a reduction, but what happens then is it affects your school taxes. Does everybody understand how the broken grievance system affects your school taxes? Okay, your school tax sets a levy. Let's say the school needs $40 million. So that school district's going to get that $40 million no matter how many houses are in the district, how many people are paying taxes in that district. It needs $40 million to operate. Separate issue, does it really need $40 million? That's for you to look at your school budgets and determine. But the school district has to raise a certain amount of money. It only can do that by levying taxes. So it sets a tax rate. How does it set a tax rate? It looks at the district. We got all these houses in the district. Everybody here is in the same district. I know you're not. We'll talk about it later. And everybody here has a value assigned to their house by the Department of Assessment. So they look at the taxable value assigned to the home by the Department of Assessment, and they create a tax rate. But what happens then? In other words, all the property value times the tax rate equals that $40 million. So now what happens when this side of the room, everybody on this side grieves their taxes, and everybody on this side of the room goes down? Now there's less property value in the district being taxed. So the tax rate has to go up to compensate for the lost value. So in some of your districts, Elmont not being one of them, 50 to 60%, well last year you didn't get a lot, but 60 to 70% of the people are getting reductions. In Belmore, where I live, 70% of the people got reductions. What does that do? It takes a lot of property value out of the district, and as a result, the school tax rates come up. So there are districts on the South Shore where you vote for a 2% increase in your taxes, on your tax rate, but you're going up 7 to 8%. So that's your biggest share of your tax bill is your school tax. So by firing all these people in the Department of Assessment and giving refunds out or reductions out willy-nilly to 70% of the people, you're forcing up the school tax rates. Now, if your school tax rate goes up 7% and you save 7% on your grievance, you're even. But if you hire a law firm to do it and you're paying them 50%, you're still losing. And the people who get hardest of all are the ones who forgot to grieve because they trusted the government to do its most basic task, which is to assess their home properly. Now I know a lot of you think there are different ways to value property and to tax homes. And there really isn't, because New York State requires that your home be taxed and assessed based upon its fair market value. So for the last 8 years, the county's lied to you. They've lied to you about what your fair market value is. And now everybody's received at least 3 pieces of mail telling you what your fair market value is. And you may think it's too high, but at least it's a real attempt to treat you as intelligent residents and explain to you, my home is now assessed, they think it's worth $400,000. And my assessed rate is 10% or 0.01%, so it's $400. They're trying to be honest with you. In the past, everybody got a letter from the county that said, oh, your house is worth $160,000 on 7th Street in Elmont. And people are, oh, that's great, but now you're going up because the county's finally being honest. So what happened is people who, you're not being punished for grieving, everybody's just being brought up to their correct value. If you don't think you're at your correct value, you're going to grieve your taxes, your tax assessment. That's what we're here for. I'm going to show you how to do it. That's why I started this group. You know, it's a funny story. I started this group because people knew that I understood how to grieve taxes. So I was getting phone calls at home. And I was getting phone calls at work, and I was getting emails. And I'm like, this is nuts, I don't have the time to do this. So I started this group thinking, well, then I wouldn't have to worry about getting calls at home, and getting private emails, and getting private messages. No, so I started a group that now takes up half of my week, every day, every week. You laugh, but the young lady in the back does all the rest of my work during the week. Okay. So we started this group. We've got 20,000 active members, and most of those have heard me say exactly what I'm telling you now. The system was broken. We had to fix it. The county executive isn't lying to you anymore. She's trying to get people in to work on the system. They just hired 10 new appraisers. That's actually really good. They need another 20. I don't know if they can afford them, but they do need that many. If you know anybody who's a licensed appraiser, the Assessment Review Commission is hiring. Okay, they should get resumes in. Okay. The other thing I just need to talk about is the level of assessment. Is everybody this year is seeing their letters, and I think you know these 3 letters, your level of assessment went from 0.02025 to 0.0010. 0.0010 is just really easy. If you've got a $400,000 house, you're assessed at, what, 400? Okay, it makes sense. And we've heard from the Assessment Review Commission, they're not going to lower the level of assessment this year when you grieve. They're going to try to keep it the same 0.0010 for everybody. What was happening is the Assessment Review Commission, when they were giving out those 180,000 reductions, was lowering the level of assessment for those that grieved. And those that did grieve were still paying at 0.0025. It's a con game. There's nothing, you know, and the big winners of that con game weren't really the people who were grieving every year because their school taxes kept going up. The big winners were the law firms who were taking 50% of the 180,000 grievances that were granted. So we started the group to help people do this on their own. There was a time a few years ago where some of the grievance firms were allegedly doing better than people who filed on their own and other grievance firms. They put in a new assessment review commissioner and she stopped that bullshit. Sorry, but it was. There should have been a criminal investigation over that. There's, you know, if I'm getting 3% and I certainly know how to file a grievance, no law firm should be doing 6% and getting 6%. And it was treated residents unfairly and unequally. There should have been a civil suit over it. There should have been a criminal suit over it. But there wasn't. So what do? We do what my therapist says. We move forward. Okay? We don't worry about what, okay? Say it's good. Therapy's good, we know, okay? It's good, it's helpful, okay? All right. So we move forward. We can't dwell on the past. We can't worry about what may be or won't be or isn't going to be. We worry about what is and what we have under our control. What do we have under our control? We have a Facebook group that's going to help you get through this. All right. So, what do? The grievance period this year has been extended. Okay? It has been extended until April 30th. That's because everybody in this room needs 4 months to fill out a form that's going to take you 10 minutes. Right? Everybody needs 4 months. Now the legislature not carry one in 4 months. So you got the 4 months. Everybody's got all these announcements in the mail telling you what your home is valued at. Did you need anything more than the county telling you what they're valuing your home at in order to file a tax grievance? The minute you saw the county says your home is now worth $600,000, you knew you were filing a tax grievance, correct? Okay. All the rest of this is BS, just set up to scare people. No, you got one page, it says you were 160 and you're now 510. You're going to file a tax grievance. Even if your house is worth 600, you're going to file. We have this industry out there that is based on fear and getting people reductions, and until everybody learns to do this on their own, we're not going to get rid of that system. It's really simple. January 2nd every year, if you don't trust the county or you don't trust your valuation, you file a tax grievance. My thought is this. The first year, everybody should file, because nobody trusts the county anymore. Doesn't deserve it. Okay? It's lost that trust by what it did to you by not telling you what it was really level assessing. You file your tax returns. You're going to get a real person looking at it this year, we hope. Okay, maybe not if you like living in Jericho and $1 million home assessed at $350. You're not going to get a reduction this year. Okay? But you're going to have a real person look at it. And that's the hope. And maybe you'll win, maybe you'll lose. And look, you kind of know whether you should win or lose. I mean, we're all here. We want to be as, get as low a number as we can. But yeah, we know we live in New Hyde Park in a nice house, and we know we're going to have a little bit of room, right, Terry? You want to do the best you can.
Someone left their jacket down the room, blue jacket.
Blue jacket right there. There you go. Okay, we would have got it. All right. So we're all going to try to grieve this year.
And the deadline is extended.
And it has, okay. So we're all going to, we're going to grieve. And some of us are going to get reductions. It's going to be harder than in past years. It should be harder than it was in past years. And eventually that school tax rate is going to stabilize because not 170,000 people are getting reductions every year. Maybe it'll be 20,000. Maybe it'll be 30,000. People who get it are going to deserve it. But now this is where assessment comes in. Everybody agrees this year we're going to have a record number of grievances, I'm sure of that. And some people are going to go down. And the data that they get from seeing where the people think that their homes are over-assessed is all going to go into the supercomputer. And then we're going to have a qualified assessor for the first time in 9 years evaluate that data. We had under Ed Van Gano, a high school graduate who didn't have the degrees necessary to assess property, but he signed off on these inaccurate goals every year, and he just made the system worse. So now we have a qualified assessor. So he's going to look at the data that comes in. This is as much for you as it is for everybody else. And then he's going to say, well, these 5 people grieved, and we gave them reductions. This gentleman's their neighbor, and he forgot to grieve. But I'm going to bring him down automatically to the same level as your house. Because he's in the same neighborhood, he's in the same house. I now have to adjust him down. Guess what that creates? Accurate rolls. So this year, it's important to be part of the process and file your tax grievance. And then the rest falls on David Booth to analyze the data that comes in and takes what, because remember, this is mass appraisal. You're appraising 400,000 properties all at once. It is then up to David Booth and Laura Curran to make those rolls. Well, less than her. She doesn't assess property, but she hires David Booth, who does that. Okay? And so the goal is that after this 1 year, the Department of Assessment has a really good idea of who thinks they're overassessed, what areas are overassessed, and what adjustments have to be made. It's a 2-year process. It was a 2-year process in 2002. It's at least a 2-year process now because the rolls are worse than they ever were. You're going to do your part. You're going to file a grievance. Now, who's been into my sessions before? Over here. Okay. And what did I tell you in the past about choosing a home? It didn't matter what your comparables were. It didn't matter. You choose the rattiest house in the neighborhood. You choose the house with the 18 drug deals. Someone was complaining before about 18 people living in the house. Okay? You just choose the rattiest house in the neighborhood. That's the old way. You can't do that anymore. You know why? Because Laura Curran found 10 appraisers who wanted to work for the county of Nassau. And they're going to be there looking at your grievances. And if you pick a ratty, little bungalow and you're in a big colonial, that's not going to work for you anymore. It used to work great, but it's not going to work anymore. So, without further ado, let me walk you through the process. Okay? Now, I've handed out some sheets today. One of them is how to appeal your assessment. It has some deadlines on it. It hasn't been up. The one I have hasn't been updated yet. We're now looking. Oh, it has actually. April 30th is the last day to file your tax. Okay.
Anybody else want to get a pen?
And it also has some other issues. It has the a video that the county has put together. Watch mine instead. It also has the addresses where to file. Now, you can file online, or individuals can still file on paper. I don't think it makes sense. If you can file online, file online. I know Perry's had a couple days where he's brought, he's opened up his office Are you going to be planning to do that this year?
Yes, yes. Due to language issues, many people in my community speak Haitian Creole or Spanish or Urdu. I will make it available as the deadline gets closer, where on a Saturday, I'll beg my friends like Jeff to come, and we're just going to walk you through the whole process again, individualized setting, and we'll get it done.
Yeah,
I don't like to leave no person behind. I just want to make sure as many people as possible read their property.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it much, and we didn't, we didn't, I went and spent an afternoon with your office with the seniors. My son went, and Carrie actually offered to pay my son, he didn't, but one of my staff members went, who was paid. Carrie actually did that out of his own pocket because there shouldn't be anybody left behind. And I will be in the community as we get closer to April, at least that's our plan, to help people grieve their taxes. If you're capable of doing it on a computer, do it. If you can't, I've handed out the AR1 form, which is just a very simple form in the instruction sheet. It's a really simple process to do this on your own. However, if you do it online, the county gives you the comparables. Comparable is a house that is sold in your neighborhood. The only way you can get a reduction is to show that the houses that are like yours, selling in your neighborhood, are selling for less than your house. Okay. But it's really a simple process. And what we've been finding is that most houses, there are comparables in most cases. And if there are no comparables, well, maybe you're not getting a reduction this year. Okay? But if you file and you know somebody's been looking at it, you feel better about the system. Okay? At least somebody else is saying, oh, you're looking at it, it's like, there's no way I can sell my house for 400, wink, wink. And you try to file and they come back and they say, not this year. At least you have faith in the system. And what you're doing is you're then letting Mr. Moog, the assessor, with all his letters after his name and all his degrees, then do what he has to do to make the rolls accurate. Do I think the rolls are accurate this year? That's it. I think they're better than they've ever been. I think these rolls are 1,000% better than what we've had. I mean, we had people complaining in Newsday last week. I felt so bad for them. They live in $1 million house in Jericho. It's on a half acre and it's 4 bedrooms, three and a half baths, 2,800 square feet, and house next door sold for $850. House down the street sold for $1.2 million, and their house is assessed at $350,000 because they've grieved every year. And so they are paying the same county tax as a 3-bedroom, 1-bath bungalow in Elmwood. And that's why assessment's not fair. That wasn't fair. Okay? That house is paying now different school taxes, because of course Jericho's the best school district in the country, and there's lots of houses selling for $350,000 there. But that house is paying the same pound tax as a house in Hicksville that's 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. It's paying the same county tax as a house in North Valley Stream, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, that's properly assessed. And that's not right. And yeah, I see you're amazed, but that's really what it was. Okay? What we need to do is we need to get this correct, and it's going to take this year of grieving, next year of David Moog massaging the rolls, and the following year of everybody grieving and getting denied. That's not going to necessarily happen. It's still going to take a year or two. There's always going to be 10% who are too high. There's always going to be changes in neighborhoods and changes in, housing, for example, there's always going to be a house that has been damaged by a fire that's going to get a reduction. There's always going to be a house that's been missed. This year, there's been a lot of houses that are too high. There's also some houses that are too low that we can't recapture them. And I still need to go to that level of assessment, and then I'll show you, I promise.
Jeff, I have one question. Now, I've been to your seminars before. Now, I have never used a comparable.
Well, now you have to.
Because all the houses in my neighborhood are overtaxed.
Okay, but now you have to use comparables.
I have to because I've never had one.
And if you don't have one this year, you're probably not going to get a reduction.
Well, I got one for 2019.
Because the system was broken and anybody could have gotten a reduction last year because all they had to do was file and sign their name. Yeah, all they had to do was file and sign their name. The system was broken. Now there are people who are actually going to read it. Okay, so the chances are, if you don't have a comparable, because houses in your neighborhood aren't selling for less than what you're assessed at, maybe this year it means you're assessed fairly. I just want to talk about, you're hearing people, not Carrier, in the legislature say that the level of assessment should stay at 0.0025. Reassess the homes, but keep the level of assessment at 0.0025. Because that keeps, at 0.0025, you then have a 6% cap increase a year. Okay? They had to lower the level of assessment to capture all of that lost value given out by the Mangano administration to all the grievance firms over the last 8 years. That home that we're talking about in Jericho that was assessed for $350, how many years does that house stay under-assessed if you can only raise it up by 6% a year? It's 32 years. So when a house is under-assessed for 32 years, it means everybody else is paying their taxes for 32 years. So that's why they lowered the level of assessment to 0.10, so they could capture the lost value in that home and every other home that has been under-assessed for all these years. Because if a house is under-assessed, it means somebody else in the school district is paying that taxes. And in a county-wide system, nobody here lives in Jericho, right? Nobody made that trip. I know there's somebody who said they came from Massapequa. Okay, so you're paying, that house in Jericho, you're paying a share of its school tax, I'm sorry, not school tax, county tax and town tax, because you're in the same town as the house in Jericho. That's not fair, and that's why they lowered the level of assessment to 0.0010, and why they need to capture that value. And these legislators that are saying keep it at 0.0025 are saying we just spent $6 million and let's keep the rolls inaccurate for 25 more years. It means they don't understand the process. We have to fix it. We have this one shot. The rolls are completely, the old rolls were terrible. The new rolls aren't going to make everybody happy, but they just couldn't be worse than the ones that were corrupted. We've got to fix it. Okay, so for those of you, and there are 8 people who want to join the group, but not now. Those of you who are in the group, what's the most important rule? Read the pinned post. Or in this case, the pinned announcement. Okay? And it's right here. And I actually handed it out to you so you can see how easy it is. Where is it, Lee? It's coming? Okay, there it is. So, scroll please. It says important, all members read this. And when you read it, it takes you to the link you need to register. Okay, see? Hit here. Okay, scroll. I'll make believe I'm doing it with this. All right, so what we do is, where do you start? Every year, there are always people who ask in the group, where do you start? And I know they didn't read the pinned announcement. So we start right here. User registration. You were able to get here tonight. That means you followed stop signs, you stopped at red lights, you made lefts and you made rights, and you found the big sign that said library. That means you have the intellect and the intelligence to register with ARC. Right here. Register with ARC. Look at this, they want your name. They want your phone number. They want your email address. And they want you to create a password. Create a simple password. Because no one's breaking into the system and grieving your taxes. You remember that joke? You like that joke? Okay. Yeah, that's my big joke. Leanna reminds me every time to tell that joke. Okay. Seriously. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No one is breaking in to file a tax grievance for you. Keep it simple. Keep all lowercase numbers. It can be your pet's name. It can be your name. It doesn't really matter. So you file your grievance. You scroll down. And then you click complete registration. That should take you 2 minutes. Once you complete your registration, what do you do? Under normal circumstances, I tell you to shut your browser off. because the system works so much better when you log back on. So we're not going to do that simple. You come back to your instructions, and you go right here, Nassau County ARC Web Citizen. You can also go from the county web page, and you go to Arrow Home. It brings you right here. Look at that. Deadline's been extended to April 30th. Big red letters. Typically, when you get something from the county and it's in red, read it. Lots of people have been holding up pages today saying, what does this mean? And I'm saying, did you read what's in red? There you go, yeah. What is this? Read it, it's in red. Notice of a tentative assessed value. Okay, the full market value shown as of 1/2/19 does not take into consideration any potential change in value that is currently being considered by ARC. So this is not your grievance for last year. It's all there. It's in red. It's got to be true. Okay? So we scroll down. Now, I say it should be true, but look, the county was good here. They changed the date. They forgot to do it over. Do you have a good case for filing an appeal? Even if you don't have a good case, you're going to file an appeal this year unless you trust Nassau County to do the right thing. And most of you don't. The only one that they probably don't need to grieve this year is if you bought your house in the last 2 years and you paid a lot more than your assessed value. You're probably not going down. But if it makes you feel good, file your grievance, because I think it helps everybody. It puts more data into the system. It shows that everybody in this neighborhood is 500,000, so you shouldn't be 6, you should be lowered. And again, I'm trusting the assessor to make the right moves after this grievance period. And if he doesn't, I'll be disappointed, but it won't be the first time. And my own private practice will go way up through the roof, and that's a good thing too. I do have to give one pitch. I do file tax grievances for a living, or part of my living. I don't like doing it. It's the worst 6 minutes a day when I do them. And so I'd rather just sit here at night and teach you how to do it yourself. Okay? But if you really can't, and you can't make carries that seminar, we'll fit you in. All right? Do you have a behavior filing an appeal? We're going to click on that. And look at this. They want your address. Whoa. Oh. If you don't know, ask your neighbor. Now, again, not everything in the county is perfect. Sometimes if you live on a street like 3rd, it might be a number. It might be spelled out T-H-I-R-D. And sometimes, well, it might even be spelled T-H-E-R-D. So there are ways to get around this. If you put your address in and it doesn't work, sometimes you just put a number in here, and then the town, or the zip code. And then every street in Elmont, or New Hyde Park, or Garden City, or Massapequa that has that number will pop up. Sometimes if your number doesn't pop up, you try just the street name in the town. If you're not sure what town, you just use the street name. They put in 2723 Bell. And hit search. And the only 2723 Bell in the county comes up. I didn't even need to put a town. I didn't need to put a county. Do you have my password on this? Excuse me? It's JB Gold when you get to it. All right. So we're going to click on parcel ID. And we're going to fill in NUKTI or whatever the numbers are for capture. That's just so you don't download everything all at once. And that's my house. And that house is for sale and you can own it. Now, the house is on the market for $650 and look what they assessed to that. Keep going. Oh my gosh. Dead on. Dead on. Now, the house hasn't sold. It's probably going to sell for less than $650. So when I grieve this house this year, I'm gonna wait till later in April. Hopefully I got it in contract by then. And I'm gonna say the house is on the market. The best offer I got was $620. And I'm gonna give a present to the person who buys the house by giving them a good grievance on the house. I'm still challenging them. But let's, what we want to do is we want to make sure if that's the house, sure, that picture was taken 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. We should really update these. I'm going to check that 655 is what I got from my letter from the county. my 3 letters from the county. Let's scroll down here. We want to see what status of prior assessment challenges. How have I done in the past? Well, not bragging for 10 years in a row. All right, hold on. Okay, there's also a couple of years on another past one. So we go back, we see we've got reductions all those years. And we know that last year when it was assessed at 358, like those people in Jericho, it was wrong. But it wasn't as wrong as the people in Jericho, okay, who were, their homes $1 million homes. So we hit fine sales. We want to make sure we got the living area right, full baths, half baths, 1-car garage, no basement. Sounds about right.
What about school exempt?
Where? I'm sorry.
School exempt, it says school taxable.
Oh, well, that would be, school taxable would be, it's taxable, not a preschool. Okay. Yeah, you're taxable. So look what comes up. We come up with all these houses. Now that's the house right behind me. That house flooded during Sandy. My house did not, if anybody's interested. Okay. Typically, the house that comes up right behind yours is the one that is the closest in size, neighborhood, value, and under the normal circumstances, you should be choosing that house. Now, I know that house had a brand new kitchen. My house has a really old kitchen, as my wife reminded me every day. So I might put that down later, not like my house that had a new kitchen, but I am going to choose that house. It doesn't hurt me too much. It's roughly the same. So we're going to click on it. Now, this house is a lot like mine. It's right around the corner. We're going to click on that. We're going to click on 310 Lydia Lane, which is right around the corner. It's the same style house. We're going to click on my favorite house right here because it's a lot cheaper and it's still right underneath mine. We're going to click on that. And then we're going to skip a few. We're going to drop down here. We're going to actually go to the next page. And we're not going to check. Look at this. They changed my comparable since the last time I've been on here. They've updated. There was actually another house. Go back to one. Yeah, they took out a house that sold for $420 around the corner. It wasn't like mine, but it was close. And I'm going to add it back in when I file my grievance. Okay, so we selected properties. You can choose 1, 2, 3, or 4. I do recommend trying to choose as close to your property as possible because, you know, somebody's going to look at it. If you start to choose houses that are a mile away, they're going to have an idea that they're not accurate. So these are all right in my neighborhood. And we're going to just click on them and select check properties and continue. And they all pop up on here. Scroll down. And what they do is they make adjustments to make this house more like mine. Like my house is bigger than this one. So they add some square footage dollars to these other houses that are a little smaller. And, you know, you can see how these are adjusting out. Okay? But now, what I'm going to write here is not like my house on this one. Because it isn't really like my house. It's got a new kitchen. And then we're going to scroll down. And we're going to hit continue. And we're going to agree to proceed. And yeah, that's okay. A little bit of a reduction. That's probably where the house is going to sell. Don't tell my realtor I told you that. Continue to submit appeal. And this is where Leanna will put my code if she remembers it. You need me to come back there? I think I know what it is. Yeah, I think you do too. So save. Okay. Now, that puts you through the next page. What is the type of property? It's a 1, 2, or 3 family. The house populates back up here. Leanna's going to type in my name and my wife's name. And if you have additional lots, because some people have a second lot, you can add it right here. By clicking it. We come over here, and my tentative assessment is 0.01% of $655,000. And it asks, what is my fair market value? I'm going to take another 20% off that, or 10%. Doesn't really matter. just in case the county decides that it's going to change the level of assessment for everybody again, I'm going to do that. Yes?
What's the advantage of having every house?
Because you want to grieve all your property. Okay, you know, you can agree with that. Okay, so we're just going to lower that to 600,000. I don't think I can ever get in any world a assessment lower than that. Okay, now is the property offered for sale account for the contract? We're going to answer yes because we tell the truth. And we're going to put here 650. But again, I have until April 30th to submit this. So I may submit it today. And now if I'm in contract for 610 or 620, I can come back at the end and put that contract in. And that's virtually a guaranteed reduction. Okay? So we're coming over here now. I just want to put this one, which I said wasn't like my house. Leanna's going to write over here comments. New kitchen. New kitchen. Okay. And then we're just going to scroll down here. You see over here? Click to search for parcel ID. Now I don't have that other house in my neighborhood that is sold for $420, but I would then put in that address here, just the street name and the number, and it'll pop up, and you click on it, and that's how you add comparables that you don't necessarily have or know what they are, or aren't part of your.
Populated or
yeah, don't populate with arrow. There are other ways. So then what would happen, we're not going to do it now, okay, is we're going to switch that off, cancel. You're going to come down here and ask you what is your relation to the property. I'm the owner. And then you hit submit application form. We're not going to do that. What that does is it takes you to another page. It gives you a passcode that says this is your application number. You will then automatically get an email from the Assessment Review Commission saying that your application has been received. And there'll also be a box. Oh, you know, let's do it. We have a big crowd. Let's just click on it. So I'm actually going to have to withdraw this grievance tomorrow. We're not preventing you from submitting. Oh, you see, we've already submitted multiple applications. I'm selling the house. I don't really care if the taxes go down. Completely screwed up. I'm going to have to withdraw all these. But what happens here is it'll ask you, there are warnings. Sometimes you'll get this if you hired a grievance firm to do it. They'll already have filed. So we're going to submit with warnings. Remind me tomorrow to take these. It just means that I've already filed other grievances on this house. I filed already. I've done more seminars. Okay? And this is what I wanted to show you. You view or add attachments. Click. Okay. There's no documents found. Would you like to add one now? Now I don't have my documents, but here. And this is where I can add that there's a contract for sale. Let's say I'm not selling it for $650, but I was selling it for $610. Well, then I want to upload my multiple listing service to show that I'm, selling it for less than $650, so there should be a reduction. Okay. Now this is where you put other things. People were asking me before, what do I put here? Okay. If it's on your honey-do list, you put it in there. Okay. If you need, if you have an appraisal report, anything you want, you can put in. But photos. People would say that there's a house on their street that's a mess, that there's 18 people living there, that there's a lot of traffic. Well, if that affects the value and you think it affects the value, you put it in there. And you can upload photos. You can upload, pretty much anything. Estimates for repairs. You need to have,